So in line with learning more selection tools, we're going to use color range selection. Um, just moving on, this is an image we worked with on another kind of selection on the direct selection tool, but for this part we're going to go into a new tool called color range. So at the top menu up here where it says select, you're going to go to select and color range, and that's going to launch a dialog box, and you can basically use this eyedropper tool. And right now it's just kind of selecting whatever the default is, but if I just click once on this red here, you can see it does a really good job at selecting all other reds in that exact color range, and you can modify these things, but for now I'm not going to change anything. And actually, if you hold the shift key and keep clicking, you can add other red areas to it, and you can see, like, I'm just kind of going by this little thumbnail here. You can see there's some graininess here, so maybe I'll add some there, and then just kind of adding other areas of this image that are red. Again, like, once you have this color range, just make sure you keep holding shift, and you can see when I do that there's a little plus kind of symbol that gets added to this eyedropper. So hold down shift and that plus, and then again, you can see these. I'll just go back, but you can see when I hold shift, watch this area over here fill in when I hold shift and click on there. And again, you can do this as many times as you want to kind of just really get, because this is the only red. There's no red in the background. There's no red like here. It's really just selecting. Anytime I hold shift and click to, it's really just selecting these areas of red, and it's doing a great job only selecting areas with like red in it. So you can see even like the heel of the sneaker here, these little bits, just these tiny little details, it's great at selecting everything. So when you're dealing with, you're only trying to isolate one color, and that color only lives on the objects you're trying to affect, or even if it doesn't, you can always adjust that out later, or clean up your selection other ways. But again, I'm just kind of clicking around to make sure this is kind of pretty clean in here, and that's great. That does a great job at selecting like pretty much all of the red in this image. So I'm gonna hit OK. And again, you can see there's some areas that are not perfect here. If you want, you can clean those up. You can either go back into the tool and try to add those, or there's other ways you can clean it up, like quick mask. But for this purpose, it's really not that necessary. I'm just going to leave it as is. But I'm just going to add a hue saturation layer, and I'll move this so you can kind of see the color effect happening. But it added that selection to this hue saturation layer as a mask. Anytime you have a selection and you add a adjustment layer, it's going to mask that adjustment layer with the selection that you had. And so I'm just going to change the color of this. I'm moving hue saturation, you can see, and it's really done a great job at isolating exactly that color. And it doesn't again, you can see the little red bits that I missed, or maybe around this it's got a little bit of that red polluting that color. But just from quickly clicking and shift clicking a couple areas in that color range tool, it does a great job at selecting all of that color, even this little detail on the tongue here, or like the heel details, or this heel detail. It's great at really isolating everything that's that color. And again, you can modify select and mask if you're really trying to keep things like perfect, or you're building a file that is eventually going to go into production or print. But for phase one designs, this is great and really easy to use to select areas of color that are the same in an image.